Is it Brosmer or bust for this Minnesota Gophers offense? We're breaking down the QB room today.
You are Locked On Golden Gophers, your daily podcast on the Minnesota Golden Gophers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Gopher fans? You're listening to Locked On Golden Gophers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Kane Rob, host of the podcast, former collegiate football video coordinator and recruiting assistant, here to talk Golden Gophers with you each and every day of the week, Monday through Friday. And we're doing an extra weekend show to make up for one of the shows we missed last week. But I want to talk about breaking the quarterback room down. We're going to slowly start to break down every single one of the position groups for the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Now, if you missed our last series, we broke down every single Gophers opponent on the season. We've done all 12 opponents, so you can go back and check those shows out, but we're moving inward. We're looking inward at the Gophers roster. Moving forward, today we've got quarterbacks, then we'll go down the line, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, O-lines, flip it to the defense, and so on. So hopefully, if you want to hear more about where this Gophers roster lies, what the depth chart could be looking like, and where I rank every single position room across the Big Ten, then be sure to hit subscribe over on YouTube so you don't miss any of your daily shows moving forward. But today we're kicking it off with the quarterbacks. And the first question we have is it Brosmer or bust when it comes to the Gophers offense? I think it is. I think that is a very key point for the Gophers this year. And if something happens to Max Brosmer, this team might be in a heck of a lot of trouble. Now, in the end, I think this team goes exactly how the quarterback goes. I expect him to spread the ball around a ton. I don't think he will be a key in on one type of receiver or have his go-to guy that he's always consistently looking for. No, everything I've seen from the spring, everything I've seen from the fall, everything you saw on his tape from New Hampshire tells you that he likes to get through his reads. He likes to be accurate, and he likes to have the ball out on time, because being on time means that he can get into his receivers' hands and get them space to create on their own. He realizes that yards after the catch is critical for an offense to continue to move the drive forward. So if there's a deep shot that takes longer to build, but there is an open check down right there, he is going to take the check down 9 times out of 10, maybe even 10 times out of 10, to ensure his guy can get the ball quick and keep going up the field. So I'm not expecting a ton of explosives in that offensive front from the Gophers. Now, maybe they'll build in some shot plays here and there and have things kind of dialed up, ready to go. But I think besides those dialed up shots, maybe 4 or 5 looks a game, I don't anticipate seeing a lot more than that. So I think it's really going to be trying to be efficient, trying to use the pass game to be like a run game, and then using the run game to continue to open it up. So that's kind of what I'm seeing, or what I'm thinking, when it comes to this quarterback position. Now, if Max Brosmer goes down, you don't have a quarterback that has that experience, that has that on the field ability to know what's going on and make the right checks at the line before the ball is snapped or anything like that. You have a lot of inexperience beyond that. So if Max Brosmer is not able to play in a game, or if he gets injured by some point, this offense could be screwed. Or it could look a lot like what we've seen last year, where it's just a ton of running the ball and not really throwing the ball whatsoever. Now, like I said, I think he's going to spread the ball around. I think you're going to see targets to Elijah Spencer, to Lemeki Brockington, to Daniel Jackson, to some of the tight ends, maybe multiple tight ends. And I think we could see some of these young guys rotate in. Nuke Hayes is a guy I definitely want to keep my eye on. TJ McWilliams, Kenrick Lanier are both guys in there. Tyler Williams could be getting up to speed as well. There's a ton of youth in this room, and I think the Gophers are going to have to test it out this season to see where they stand beyond this year, when Daniel Jackson is no longer with this team, when Elijah Spencer is no longer with this team. Who will be the next man up? And also, can you get them reps this year so they stay the next man up and they don't transfer because they didn't get opportunity for multiple years? So the Gophers are going to have to rotate and mix things up and really get people going. So I think we could see some diverse combinations with these wide receivers. But regardless, we're talking about the quarterbacks. Now, Daniel Jackson might be a when in doubt player. Find Daniel Jackson because he creates great separation, so he should be open. But Brosmer is going to get through his reads and then some. Now, like I said, I would expect a lot of checkdowns. Playing on time is a stressor with Max, and he had talked about that in the offseason. He knows if the ball is on time, there's more opportunities for yard after catch and moving the field. You can keep moving the field even if it is a shorter throw. Now, if Brosmer goes down, this offense significantly drops. Lindsey doesn't have any on-field experience at the collegiate FBS level. Whitkey couldn't step up. I don't think he could step up to the plate right now. Neither of them are ready to be the guy for a full season right now as it currently is. There could be some flash moments here and there in practice, but the game is still a little bit too fast for both of them. So the biggest question to be determined is when the Gophers need the big pass plays, when they're on a third and very long, when they're down multiple scores, when they're playing against a Penn State or a Michigan and you just need some big explosives, some big shots or something to keep the offense driving. Can they consistently do that? Can they get it done? We haven't seen a lot of that in the spring session. We haven't seen hardly any of it in the fall session. It's a lot of checkdowns. It's a lot of 5, 8, 10-yard throws, 15 yards here or there, but never the 25 plus, never the 30, 40 yards. Now, I shouldn't say never. It's probably here and there, but of the 3 opportunities we've seen, we've maybe seen 3, 4 looks total across 3 different practices this fall in that situation. So when we're in a situation where we need 4, 5, 6 of those types of big plays, can we do it? Is it something the Gophers have in their arsenal, or will that game be like, okay, we're screwed. We lost this game and that's it. That's that. Hopefully that's not the case, but overall, I think this offense goes as Brosmer goes. So it is Brosmer or bust for this season for the Gophers offense, in my opinion. Now, Brosmer has a lot of talent and he has a lot of interest, even from the NFL. The Senior Bowl has interest. He was listed on the Shrine Bowl 1000. He's listed on the Senior Bowl watches by, I can't even remember his name right now. I'm tripping on that, but the Senior Bowl director. And then on top of that, he has scouts interested. Even at the pro day last year, he caught some eyes at the Gophers pro day where he had just worked with those guys for the week prior, and that's it. And the balls were on the money. He was communicating with these scouts on what they're looking for at a professional clip. He was talking with Josh McCown, the Vikings quarterback coach, and what have you. So overall, I think there is a lot of interest with Max Brosmer. There is some wanting to see how it pans out at the Big Ten level, but overall, I think it's going to be an interesting year for the Gophers at quarterback. Maybe we see some of the best quarterback play we've seen from the Gophers in PJ Fleck's era, or maybe it is more or less what we saw with Tanner Morgan, but only time will tell. But I'm really excited by it. I'm really intrigued by it. So what we're going to do next is we're going to go over the Gophers quarterback room, break down what the depth chart looks like, break down what the future could look like in this room, and that's what's coming up next. First, I want to talk to you about our friends over at eBay Motors. It's the place to be when it comes to maintaining your vehicle and leveling it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and so much more, they have over 122 million parts for your number one, your ride or die, because passion, drive, and patience is the winning formula for championships, but it's also the winning formula for your vehicle. So you're going to want to check out eBay Motors anytime you need something for your vehicle, because they have the one and only, the awesome eBay guaranteed fit, which means your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every single time or your money back, because with eBay Motors, you are burning rubber, not cash. So with all the parts you need at the prices you want, you're definitely going to want to make your car the MVP and bring home huge dubs with eBay Motors. So go to ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply, and the eBay guaranteed fit is for U.S. customers only. All right, Gophers fans, you're definitely going to want to make sure to go to Locked On Minnesota Sports for the 24/7 streaming channel. You definitely want to give Locked On College Football a follow, because they're breaking down all the biggest stories in college football. And then you're going to want to tap in each and every day here at Locked On Golden Gophers. Follow wherever you get your podcast. Be sure to leave a 5-star review so others can find the show as well. We got to build up Gopher Nation when it comes to this daily Gophers grind. But let's talk about the quarterback room. Let's talk about the depth chart, because right now, hands down, QB1, Max Brosmer. It's not even a question. As we just said, the success of this team depends squarely on him. It's on his shoulders, and we are looking forward to it. We look forward to the upside, but at the same time, we're hopeful that it all pans out. Now you go beyond Max Brosmer, and that's where things start to get maybe a little crapshooty, maybe a little bit interesting. But overall, you've got kind of a battle for the QB2 with true freshman Drake Lindsay and then redshirt freshman transfer from Virginia Tech Dylan Whitkey. Now, neither of these players have had any real playtime experience on the field at the collegiate level. Now, that said, you have you have to have one of them ready to go just in case anything were to happen or what have you. And I think regardless, the play should be better than what we saw from the backups last season. Now, based solely off of high school film and production, Lindsey wins this battle by a landslide. Like, the dude was a baller in high school, Gatorade, Arkansas State Player of the Year. Just absolutely, we've talked about his stats time and time again here at the show, and he is impressive when it comes to his high school resume. Now, on the flip side, if you're looking at size, arm strength, ability, again, that goes to Drake Lindsey. He wins that battle as well. And then finally, if you go off of common sense based off of what we have seen so far, Drake Lindsey is the next man up. Now, he ran as the quarterback 2 in all of the spring sessions prior to Whitkey's transfer. And on top of that, he has also been the first player to get the call with the 2s ahead of Whitkey in the open practices to the media that we could attend so far in the fall camp. So overall, if you had to put some money down, I think Drake Lindsey is the quarterback 2. But again, I don't think either one of these players is ready to be an FBS starting quarterback right now if they had to. If something were to happen and they had to get thrown in, this offense is going to potentially struggle. Now, I'm not saying they won't have any success. I think they would find some success. I think we found some drives during these practices in the fall camp where I'm like, ooh, that was a nice throw. Ooh, he read that well. Ooh, anticipation throw. So I think there's a lot of moments and glimpses that get you excited, but I don't think consistently you would get enough to be a winning team in the Big Ten at this moment in time. So I have hope for them. I think, like I've said on the show before, I think Drake Lindsey could be the future of the Gophers quarterback room moving forward, but we'll see what happens there. Now, beyond those two, you've got Max Shikanjansky, walk-on from Stillwater. I don't imagine he will see the field, but he has the most familiarity of the offense by far. Well, maybe actually I should probably back that up a little bit. That isn't fair to say. I think Max Brosmer, people have talked about how he knows this offense better than some of the players who have been in it for multiple years. So we're not going to go there, but Max Shikanjansky has the most longevity in being the only player from last year's team in the quarterback room back this year. So you've got that going for him. Hopefully he is continuing to build and develop and grow in the background, but I don't see him making it on the field this year. And then beyond him, you've got another walk-on from California, Jeremiah Finley. He is a shorter quarterback for sure. He's a little bit more mobile maybe, but props to him for coming out this way. But unfortunately, he is at the bottom of the totem pole when he gets the number 21 given to him as a quarterback. So I am excited for the young buck in a room with a lot of question marks beyond the top starter, but I don't think he's going to see the field. So right now, the room is pretty straightforward in my eyes, but beyond this year, there will be a lot of questions. Will Drake Lindsey or Dylan Whitkey be able to show enough in practices, in their rofer periods on Sundays, or if they were to have to answer the bell this upcoming season, could they show enough to take command of the starting job for next year, to be the guy moving forward? Or will 4-star 2025 class quarterback Jackson Collick come in right away and make an immediate impact? Those are two different options we could look at. Or will the Gophers look for another big transfer quarterback addition since Max Brosmer will no longer have eligibility? Now, I think the answer to these questions greatly depends on what happens with Minnesota this upcoming season. If they struggle, if they don't make a bowl, and they ultimately, the transfer this year doesn't pay off, then next year they probably lean a bit more into the development of their younger guys. They try to rebuild with a Drake or a Dylan or a Jackson, and then they get a mid-tier transfer as a quality backup to push those young guys if they're not showing enough growth in the offseason to take over and command the job. That could be one route if the Gophers struggle this year. But if the Gophers win a lot of games this year, if they end up overachieving to what the massed outside noises and analysts and mass expectations have for them, and they come and win 7, 8, 9 games in the season, then I wouldn't be surprised to see the Gophers go take a massive swing in the portal once again for a top tier guy who fits the culture. Now, this doesn't mean your young guys can't win the job, but they will truly have to grow and shine and prove it in order to take it over from another transfer coming in. So I think there are different avenues and different ways this quarterback room can look moving forward, and a lot of it is dependent on what happens this season. So this is a major season for the Gophers, not only with Coach Fleck, not only to bounce back from a down year, not only with a new quarterback at the helm, but also for the future of this quarterback room. Because if you don't show enough passing glimpses, if you don't show enough upside, if you don't show enough competitiveness in the new Big Ten, then transfers aren't going to want to come here. then your top recruits moving forward aren't going to want to come here as a quarterback, because if I can't pass the ball that much and we're not winning and all of that, then why would you want to come to Minnesota? So it is going to be a critical year for the Gophers and the quarterback room in this season. And I think also you could say similar with the wide receiver room, but today is not a wide receiver show. Now that's going to be a great show. And it's going to be later this week. So be sure to hit subscribe over on YouTube so you don't miss that one coming forward. But overall, there's a lot of upside in the quarterback room. There's a lot of question marks in the quarterback room beyond Max Brosmer. And even with Max Brosmer, can he live up to the expectations that a lot of Gopher fans are starting to build up with what they've heard this offseason? Can he live up to the production that he had in the FCS and bring that to the FBS seamlessly in the Big Ten Conference with some of the best defenses in the country? And he's going to have to answer the bell right away. North Carolina is not going to play any games. Jeff Collins, as their defensive coordinator, is going to have some big-time looks, some big-time scheme looks, and trying to shift the picture on him to prove that he can do it. On top of that, you're going to have 2 games where he'll look good. He played against Rhode Island last year, had about 400 yards passing, and so his team ultimately lost, but having Big Ten talent around him and playing a team he's familiar with defensively, I think that game is going to be easy. I think the Nevada game should be good, but we'll see with the new coaching change and whatnot. And then you move to Iowa, and that's going to be one of his biggest challenges on the year. So there are going to be a ton of questions, but we're going to get a lot of answers very quickly here in this early 2024 Gopher season. So that's the quarterback room as we see it right now. But I want to break down my Big Ten rankings for the quarterback rooms across the entire conference. We're going to dive into that coming up next. And again, it's quarterback rooms, but we're going to rank every single Big Ten quarterback room coming up next. First, I want to talk to you about our friends over at FanDuel, because right now FanDuel is still in its summer phase, and its summer phase means that they're hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus on the daily, every day, every single person, all summer long. You definitely want to take a shot at it. And with football back in full swing before we know it, I mean, we've got the Gophers game in less than 2 weeks, and that lines that I'm looking at, they still haven't moved. You're still looking at a minus 2.5 point favorite for the Minnesota Gophers at home. And then on top of that, the over under for points is 50.5. Now I would smash the under on that points line, because week 1 with any Big Ten schools is typically a low scoring affair. I don't care if it's Penn State. I don't care if it's Michigan. Well, if it's Michigan or Ohio State, maybe sometimes it's a little higher, but regardless, all the other Big Ten schools, Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota, usually if it's a more competitive game, a more competitive opponent, you're going to see a lower scoring affair, a tight game. Think of Nebraska last year. It was like both teams were under 20 points. So I think you're going to see something similar in this North Carolina matchup. I would take the under on the 50.5, but you can dream up whatever bets you want over at FanDuel.com and take advantage of the boost or the bonus on the daily until this summer is out. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball and of Locked On. All right, Gophers fans, we are doing our Big Ten rankings. We're breaking it down every single quarterback room. Now, I don't want to say the individual quarterbacks, so that could shift a little bit of the positions across these groupings, but I want to break down the quarterback rooms and rank the entire Big Ten from 1 to 18. So where will the Gophers fall? Who is number 1? We're getting into all that. We're going to kick it off with number 1. We're going to go 1 down to 18. So we'll find out where everybody comes in, but number 1 for me is Oregon. I think Dylan Gabriel is the best quarterback in the Big Ten, hands down. I think he's going to be a Heisman finalist this year. I loved this dude at UCF. I loved this dude at Oklahoma. He can get it done with his feet. He can get it done with his arm. He is a weapon in all facets, and I think that the lefty is going to be in the conversation for the Heisman. But beyond him, you've got Dante Moore, a 5-star true freshman last year. He played at UCLA, so he has experience now. Now, he didn't play great, but at the same time, he has some experience, and now he's working with a coaching staff that I trust in a little bit more. And on top of that, he doesn't have to rush to the field this year. So he has the talent that you want in a long-term quarterback to be the guy moving forward, but he doesn't have to be the guy moving forward right now. And he gets to learn from one of the best in the entire country. So I think that's going to be beneficial for this Oregon team. And I think they have the number 1 quarterback room in the Big Ten. The number 2, I've got Ohio State. You've got Will Howard. I almost said Julian Howard, but the second quarterback is Julian Sane. And then you've got Aaron Noland. You've got Devin Brown. You've got Lincoln Kineholz. They've got a ton of quarterbacks in this room. So if you're going on number of quarterbacks with talent, then Ohio State could be number 1. But I don't think any of those quarterbacks upside right now matches a Dylan Gabriel. So I wouldn't go there. But once again, they have talent across multiple guys, 3 recruits who were 5 stars at one point. Will Howard is a dual threat mobile quarterback. He has massive play experience, and he has been recently named as the quarterback one, so I think he'll do pretty well. If he doesn't, they could go to a young guy, Julian Sayin, who was going to be the future of Bama, but now at Ohio State. Aaron Nolan is a guy I really liked before Julian Sayin came to town, so I think they have a ton of talent, and they could have one of the best quarterback rooms in the conference. You move over to number 3, I've got USC in the Trojans with Lincoln Riley, Miller Moss, Jaden Mayava. 2 talented quarterbacks, 2 guys that clearly Lincoln Riley sees something in. So those 2 players have a ton of talent and a ton of upside. And whoever Lincoln Riley picks, clearly he has a history of playing with some of the top-notch quarterbacks for many years now, many Heisman candidates. But we saw Miller Moss in one game starting last year in the bowl game, 6 touchdowns. Like, you're not going to be mad at that. If he can do that over an entirety of a season, he's going to be right in that Heisman conversation. On top of that, Jaden Mayava is a dual threat who started as a freshman at UNLV last year. So a ton of talent and a coach that I believe will bring the best out of his quarterbacks regardless of who was throwing back there. So I had to have USC in the top 5 for sure, but I've got him in the top 3 at number 3. Now you go to number 4, I've got Penn State, you've got Drew Aller, you've got Ethan Grunkmeyer, top highly rated recruit coming in for Penn State this year. I still believe Drew Aller could be the best talent quarterback in the entire Big Ten Conference. I think that is how talented he is. It all comes down to, can he bring that out consistently? And can the new offensive coordinator in Kotelnicki unlock that as his new offensive coordinator and put Penn State in the conversation as one of the best teams in the country? If he can do that, then this number 4 ranking could look really, really dumb. But Ethan Grunkmeyer is another very talented player behind him. He could be the future at the quarterback position. If Aller balls out and can go to the NFL next year, maybe Grunkmeyer's the guy next year, or maybe he's a guy in 2 years from now. But we'll find out. Overall, they have a lot of good talent in that room. You move to number 5, and this might catch some people by surprise, but I am a big fan of Aiden Chiles, so I've got Michigan State as the number 5 room. Now, I think you could flop my number 5 and number 6, but I'm going to lock it in because I like the upside and the talent of Aiden Chiles. I think he is more of a pocket passer, but he has the ability to run. He was very effective and very efficient at Oregon State when he was there as a true freshman last year and found little blips and glimpses to get into games behind DJ Uiagalelei, and he looked really good. Some people wanted him over DJ Uiagalelei to start last year. So I think Aiden Chiles, the best is yet to come. And on top of that, he's with his same coach from last year who is familiar with him, believes in him, and is going to give him every opportunity to be the best player he can be. So I think Michigan State has a top-notch, high-quality quarterback that can get it done on the air, in the air, or on the ground. And then my number 6 school that I think you could flip with number 5 with Michigan State is Wisconsin. Now, I hate giving Wisconsin credit, but credit where credit is due. Tyler Van Dyke looked good with Miami in his first year as a starter. Now, last year, he didn't look as good. He had some hiccups, especially in the turnover department, but his numbers were relatively comparable to his first year as a starter. And people didn't like it as much because of the turnovers and what have you. But if you put him in this offense where we've seen quarterbacks have success, when you're looking at Drake May, when you're looking at Sam Howell, back when Phil Longo was with North Carolina, he brought this type of quarterback who can run but has a big arm and has the talent to have placement throwing. He brought the best out of that type of quarterback. So if Wisconsin can do that with TVD, well, I think there's nowhere to go but up. On top of that, they have Braden Locke, who has started games before, so that's trustworthy in a backup quarterback. And then you've got Mabry Metoyer, who is a Trevor Lawrence lookalike 4-star type quarterback who could grow in the background, in the behind the scenes is what I was looking for there with Wisconsin. So I think they have a lot of depth and talent in that room. You go to number 7, I've got Washington. Now people might be like, where the heck is Minnesota? We'll get there. It's not too far off, but Washington comes in at number 7 for me because Will Rogers has a ton of production in his time with Mississippi State. He showed to be one of the best quarterbacks in the country at one point. Now he was playing in an air raid system, and this is going to look way different with Washington. So maybe that could be the hiccup. Maybe there's blips. Maybe there isn't as much reading beforehand, pre-snap and what have you. So we're going to find out quick if he's the real deal or not. And if he is, then I think he deserves to be in the top 7. If he's not, he could drop all the way to 10, 11, 12 in this conference. So I think there could be some intermingling and matching and whatnot in this little grouping right here, but I have Will Rogers at 7, and then I have your Golden Gophers quarterback at number 8. Minnesota has Max Brosmer coming in at 8. One of the most productive quarterbacks last season across this. Now, he was playing in the FCS, but regardless, passing is passing. Like, we've seen Shadur Sanders play in the FCS, and we saw him diamond and dropping great passes and everything like that. He comes over to the FBS, and he's still dropping dimes, even with the piss poor offensive line, and he's taking a lot of sacks, and he's holding the ball a little bit too much, but you still saw the talent translate, and the ball was going all over the place. I think you can still see that type of success with Max Brosmer. It comes down to, will the Gophers allow him to pass that much? And then also, where will we be at? I know we're still going to run the ball and whatnot, but I think Max Brosmer is going to get a chance, and I think he's going to show well. So I've got him at number 8. Drake Lindsay with the talent and the upside behind him, I think that helps as well. So number 8 for Minnesota. Number 9, I've got Indiana with Curtis Rourke. Curtis Rourke coming from Ohio. He had some ups, he had some downs, but he has been a heavily productive quarterback. I really like the coach that they brought in at Indiana. So overall, I can't be mad at him. I think he'll probably bring the best out of Rourke, and we could be talking about Rourke as one of the best quarterbacks in the Big Ten if everything clicks. Now, I'm really excited to see what happens with this Indiana team. I think they could bounce back a bit this year, maybe get to a bowl game, which sounds blasphemous, but I think they can get there. I do like the coach overall. Then they've also got Tyler Cherry and Tavon Jackson in the background, so not terrible talent to have in the backups. And then number 10, I've got Hudson Card. Now, there's a name that I've got right after him that I know if you're listening from another fan base on this show, you're going to be pissed. You're going to be like, what the heck? You're wrong. You're going to eat your words, all that. But look, Hudson Card has the talent. We've seen it. So Purdue comes in at number 10 for me. But beyond him, now my reasonings are going to get a little bit shorter because we're getting towards the back of the list. But beyond him at 11, I've got Nebraska and Dylan Raiola. Now, the reason I don't have Dylan Raiola in the top 10 right now is because I need to see it. High school and college are completely different games. I haven't watched their spring game, so I can't really take that tape into consideration. But at the same time, like, we're going to need to see the live bullets fly in order for me to put him in the top 10. Now, does he have top 10 talent? Absolutely. He could be a top 5 quarterback in the Big Ten starting next year when we make this list. But as of right now, before we play any minutes, any snaps, any games, I have to have him outside of the top 10. So I've got Nebraska at 11 and Dylan Raiola, and then Purdue at 10 and Hudson Card. Now we're going to fly through these next few. 12, we've got Michigan. Nobody knows who their quarterback's going to be right now. You've got Alex Orji, you've got Jaden Davis, you've got Jaden Dengel, you've got Jack Tuttle. Like, there's a bunch of unknown, questionable names in this room. Can any of them step up and answer the call? I think Orji's going to get the job because I think of the athlete he is. I think we could see a lot of read looks and options and everything like that with Michigan this upcoming year, but I just don't know what to think of this Michigan room, but Michigan is going to Michigan and get some dubs. So I think in the end, whoever they end up choosing will probably be pretty successful. Then you move to number 13. I've got UCLA with Ethan Garbers and Justin Martin. Now, Ethan Garbers is not a player I truly believe a ton in, but he's got some talent and he's shown it. He had pretty efficient numbers last year in the limited opportunities he got to start. And so we'll see how that goes, but I do not believe in this UCLA team as a whole. So it makes it very hard for me to put him above 13 into the top 12. That being said, he does have Eric Bieniemy as his offensive coordinator, who's going to want to throw the ball, and he brought the best out of Sam Howell in the NFL. So maybe he'll bring the best out of Garbers in UCLA, and I'll look foolish because Garbers will be somewhere at like 7 or something like that. But gut tells me to go 13, so that's where we are. 14, I've got the Iowa Hawkeyes. You've got Cade McNamara. You've got Brendan Sullivan. I've heard both of them are doing absolutely terrible in these fall camp sessions. So, I feel a little bit redeemed by this. I kind of want to move them even further below because at number 15, I've got Rutgers with Ethan Kaliakmanis. I am a believer in Ethan Kaliakmanis. Unfortunately, it didn't work out here, and it happens. That's life for you. But at the same time, I think he worked really well with Kirk Shiraka here. We've seen the upside. You've seen the moments where you're like, how in the world did he complete that throw? You've seen the talent. He has the dot badge on EA NCAA 25. So you know that the ability is there, but the consistency isn't there. And the layup throws aren't always there. And that's what makes him lower on this list. But honestly, he might be better than both the Iowa quarterbacks. So maybe I should flop those two, but regardless, he comes in at 15. 16, I've got Luke Altmaier. I don't see the upside in him. I think Illinois could struggle this year. And then 17, I've got Maryland. MJ Morris could finish a little higher than this, but he's a turnover prone as a young guy right now. And then Billy Edwards is the other quarterback there. Maybe he wins the job, but I just don't think either one of them have the top upside. And then finally, Northwestern comes in at 18, the worst quarterback room, in my opinion, in the conference in Northwestern, with Mike Wright coming from Vanderbilt. But overall, that's my top 16. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I am doing running backs on our next show, so you're definitely going to want to tap in. Where will Darius Taylor and crew finish in that one? You'll have to be sure to hit subscribe and find out. But until then, I will see you. Row the boat, Sky Imago Gophers, as always, and don't forget to hit subscribe.